All right. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Good to see everyone.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, Phil. Giving everybody a moment to get in and get their audio or their cameras or whatever to come on and say hello if you like. And just welcome to session number 3 of the Cardano Budget Process Open Sessions. Today we have a special guest, Lorenzo Bruno, who is with the product committee. Lorenzo's got a presentation for us today, and would welcome Lorenzo. But we do have some ground rules first. I want to share with everyone to make sure everyone's aware. So you can see the ground rules here. We're going to ask everyone to let's go with one speaker at a time. If you've got a question that you'd like to give and you don't want to come on camera or on audio and give your question and you want to add it to the chat, that's perfectly fine. Just please use question colon in the chat there. Let's stay on topic. This is about budget process and implementation. And we're going to take up to 2 minutes for any question so that we have time to get to everyone's questions and get the session moving. If you do have a question, please do raise your hand or type that question prefix in the chat box and wait to be called on. And we can have a follow-up per question, but if you have an additional question, raise your hand again and go back to the back of the queue, okay? So that everybody has a chance to have their questions answered. The session is 1 hour in length, so we have to try our best to stick to 1 hour in length. I know we've done some longer sessions in the past, but guys, let's do our best to stay right at 1 hour. These first 10 minutes, we're laying down the rules. We're going to let Lorenzo have time to give a brief presentation of where he's at. He may go up to 20 minutes. That's up to him, but somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes to give his brief of where they're coming from the product committee and what their overall value they want to give to the Cardano ecosystem looks like. The next 45 minutes will be your questions, and then the last 5 minutes will be our next steps and where we're headed. So let's do our best to be concise and specific. Let's be professional with one another, and let's build on the other discussions. If you have questions that come from previous sessions that aren't answered, we're happy to continue talking about them. But let's try to build on our knowledge over time as we're going here, and let's focus on the solutions that we have to work on together, and let's respect each other's viewpoints. If you normally speak a lot, maybe fade back a bit and let people who don't speak a lot have a chance. And if you don't speak a lot, speak up. Let us know what you're thinking so that we can help have a good, solid discussion here today. And with that, let's get started. Lorenzo, how are you, man?
All good, all good. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see a lot of people here. Let's see if my screen sharing works, and we can give it a start so that you have a lot of time for questions and we can have a good discussion. Let's see. Oh, I think I need to wait for Lloyd for you
Yep.
to stop sharing, maybe.
I'm stopping mine now, or at least trying to. It's
Yeah, Zoom makes it fun because it
it
hides all the controls
it
once you
hides
share.
all the good buttons. Exactly. I'm trying to find my button now to stop sharing. I apologize there. Oh, let's
Can
see.
stop that for you. Don't worry.
All right. Thanks, Laura.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, it's hiding. So
You're welcome. Yeah, I don't know why it does that, but we're good.
it's a feature. So in the meantime, I'll share here in the chat, and you'll find it also in the links of the product committee, the presentation that I'll be sharing today. I just want to give you like a 1 minute information on what I will be sharing. First of all, I'm Lorenzo. I act as secretary for the product committee. Maybe some other product committee members are here in the call. I can't see all the participants, but they're welcome to jump in at any point. So today I will present the current version of the proposed goals for 2025 for Cardano. The purpose of this work that the product committee has been doing for the past 2 months and a half, more or less, through community consultation, is to have a common direction and so to provide a cohesive proposal. These goals, again, have been gradually refined through socialization and consultation, which is still open. Actually, the first slide that you'll see here, let me share my screen, that maybe helps. It gives you a QR code where you can find the links to participate. There are open calls, there's open mirrors, there's a survey, so there are different ways for different people to participate in that. One thing that I will not be presenting today, which will come in at a future session, again, if you want to participate in that, you're welcome to. It's the proposed budget for the research bucket, which the product committee is working on. That's still in the work. And if you want to participate, you're welcome to reach out to product-committee and intersect@beyond.org. You can join the sessions as well. Links in this QR code, you find all the links, all the emails, etc., etc. So I'll go through this quick presentation, as Lloyd said, then we can go through Q&A. So let's go to the first slide. So before jumping into the actual goals, I just want to give you a super brief overview of what's the product committee. Some people have already participated in open calls, but some might have not. So this was formed in its current version around 2.5 months ago again. It's made of 7 voting seats, and we have 20 plus volunteering SMEs, which join different sessions. And participate in different activities, again, like brainstormings or kind of discussions. The current aim of this committee is to facilitate an open and transparent process to create this shared 2025 roadmap or set of goals. And also it aims to create later on, again, same thing, an open and transparent process to create a shared long-term 5-year vision for Cardano. The product committee is looking basically at the why is looking at the facilitating activities related to that brings Cardano forward, looking at Cardano as a product. So from the business point of view, let's say. Okay, let's jump into this process. So this is the process that we follow so far to get to this set of goals. As I said, like we have 20 plus SMEs plus these 7 voting seats and different people that have participated. So the process started 2.5 months ago with brainstorming. So we had this initial set of draft goals. And this initial set of draft goals then have been brought through consultation. So first through committees and working group to get input from the summaries of the work that these groups have done. But also we had, and we still have weekly focus group goals, for example, with groups such as DApp builders. And also we have weekly open calls. From that QR code that I shared before, I shared again through this presentation, you can participate in them. There is one this Thursday, for example. And also for people that can join calls, because of course it's not everyone has the time, there is an open Miro board where everyone can leave their feedback on any of these goals that are shared. And also there is an open survey. Once we've gone through this consultation, which again is still open, we're aiming to submit this proposal with this set of goals in GovTool and on the Cardano forum to get further comments. And then once we are all happy here, we can say we can submit it on chain as an info action and then again get another step of validation if those make sense. So without waiting any time further, again, this is again the QR code to participate. If anyone wants to participate in the open consultation, you go here, you got all the links. So let's go through these product goals. So far through this consultation, we had 4 big topics and 8 goals that came up, and these are kind of broad areas. The first and widest, I would say, topic that came out so far relates to getting more usage. And this basically speaks to all the initiative that allows us to bring in more developers, so more dApps, so more users. Cardano, like any other ecosystem, needs users to survive and to thrive. So the most of the feedback and the consultation related to this. So how do we make sure that we get more usage? This goal, again, this was not planned, but through this consultation, these goals that came up, we realized that this goal up here, drive initiative that bring developers and so dApps to users to Cardano, was a main goal of this bucket. And then the other 4 goals became supporting goals because all of these we realized are helping this main goal. So let's go through these 4 supporting goals. So the first supporting goal that helps this getting more users, so getting more users, is related to making it easier to build on Cardano and also making it easier to use Cardano, so both for developers and for users. The idea is that if it is easier, of course, to build on Cardano, both on the layer 1, on the layer 2, then we got higher chances of attracting more dApps, more builders, and so to be able to support more use cases. The more use cases we can support, the more users' problems we're solving, so the more users we should be able to attract to our ecosystem. On the side of this, another supporting goal, assuming that, again, we got more use cases, it's easier to build on Cardano, there's a supporting goal that relates to making Cardano viable and competitive. Now, Cardano has a lot of core qualities, which makes it useful and interesting for businesses. However, it's not the only options on the market. So this second supporting goal talks about how do we make sure that Cardano becomes a competitive option. It's not, if not the best option when a builder or a business is looking to use this technology. Again, there is a set of ways to do this. I'll also share at the end of this meeting a detailed document, as I don't want to take the whole time here so we can have Q&A. So these two sides, so one is making it easier to build on Cardano, one is making it competitive so that it's an option that business and builders can choose on. It's supported again by two other supporting goals. One relates to funding. So if we're able to attract more business and more builders on Cardano, how do we make sure that they have structured funding mechanisms? So through the consultation, again, two sides of this came up. One was how do we make sure that business that build Cardano itself have clear funding mechanism? So the discussion was around, for example, clear funding mechanism from the treasury, and perhaps this is one of those processes, right? So this is one, might be one way. And another side is how do we make sure the business that built on Cardano have clear funding mechanism? For example, do we need to bring in VCs, or is there any other path? So the discussion was how do we make sure that someone coming in knows how to become sustainable in this ecosystem. And the last goal, again, is not in order of importance, but in order of what it supports, speaks to the marketing side. So we know that Cardano has core qualities. The community that is here was attracted by these core qualities, but it seems, again, through the discussion, also the connection with the different committees like the MCC and the marketing working group, that the recognition and reputation of Cardano outside of the current community is not well known by businesses and builders, but also especially from the general public. So this goal speaks to all the activities that relate to making Cardano's profile and reputation more positive and more public so that people can recognize it, but also supports the other three goals. So let's assume that we're able to make it easier to build on Cardano, to make Cardano a competitive option, and that we have clear funding mechanisms for business to come in. How do we make sure that people know about it? Because you might have it, but if people don't know it, then it's kind of useless, right? So how do we make sure that people are aware of this? So this was the first kind of the widest bucket that came out through this consultation so far. And on top of this, there are, here it is, that's easy to click. There are other three buckets that came out: governance, business as usual, and vision. So let's start from the top, governance. So we know that we are at the final step of the original roadmap, which got us into the age of Voltaire, since the Vanguard for number one. So we are now in the age of Voltaire. So now we have a government. Actually, we are in the bootstrapping phase, but again, we are at the very beginning. So this topic talks about that, like we're at the beginning of our government. How do we make sure that this government is supported, that is accessible, that we have enough participation? Some example of sub goals or topics that came out related to this. How do we make sure that we expand the participation on governance? Again, this is a topic that now will become more and more important as we move forward. How do we stabilize the governance system itself after the bootstrapping phase? So once we get to check number two. How do we refine the protocol and the ledger and the tooling for governance? Again, this is a process that will need to be ongoing, but also how do we improve the education and marketing for governance, again, to allow that participation and that accessibility. These are just some examples. And the last two topics, again, it's not in order of importance, but the last topic that came out were business as usual and vision. These kind of seem to be two sides of the same coin. So on one side is business as usual, so all the activities that relate to maintaining Cardano core qualities, making sure that they are again maintained and enhanced. And on the other side, how do we look forward, right? So as we said, like the last stage of the current roadmap is the edge of Voltaire. Now we need to understand, okay, as a community, how do we go forward? So let's go to the first one first. Business as usual. Again, Cardano has core qualities that makes it reliable and trustworthy, and they attracted us here as a community to this ecosystem. So how to make sure that they remain and they're maintained? They are our current assets, basically, right? So how do we make sure that we maintain our current assets? Some examples of sub-goals or discussion topics that came out during the consultation about this are increasing the infrastructure reliability in relation to hard fork events. Again, this is a topic that is hot now, of course, because we had one and we're going to have hopefully one soon. How do we nurture, support, and expand the Cardano community? This is one of our assets. So this also came out in the discussion about the business as usual. And how do we diversify the players who contribute to the Cardano development? Again, this was also like a key topic that came out. How do we make sure that we have processes that allows us to distribute the development work, for example, of core from IOG to other players. This came out multiple times. On the flip side of this, the last topic, again, not in order of importance, but in order of, let's say, steps probably, we talk about vision. Again, as much as it is important to maintain and preserve the core qualities of Cardano, it came out, and of course, it's obvious that it's key to look ahead and define a path for growth for Cardano. As we said, the original roadmap, it's the last step is the age of Voltaire, which is now crossed. So now it's time to define an open and shared and transparent process for the Cardano community to define this long-term vision and roadmap. And this came out multiple times. Some examples of this where again, we need to start high-level research items that give us some data, some information about where are we supposed to go after in 2025 and after. How do we create this first version of this process? Like it's creating a process where you create a vision in a distributed community. It's not easy, so we need to have a process. How do we go about doing that? And then overall, kind of creating this long-term 5-year Cardano vision, which needs to be something from the discussion, of course, that it's a live thing. It's a dynamic thing that constantly evolves. So this was the last slide. I'll share again this QR code here for anyone that wants to participate in the consultation. You got different ways. So for any ways in which you want to contribute async or on a call. These were a set of draft broad topics and goals that were generated through consultation again, and we'll continue to expand this until we feel that we are ready. I think that's mostly it. I'll share here in the chat just to close this a link which might be useful. So here on this Git page, and I'm having the same problem that Lloyd had. I lost my buttons. Okay, 1 second. I'll stop sharing. Here's the chat. Here is the this page. You got like basically what you get from the QR code. So you got links to the ways to register for open calls, the open Miro, but also down here you got the link to this presentation. And also there's a link to an open document, which is ongoing, where you can find the details of each of the topics and the goals. And I'll shut up. I'll go back to the presentation and I'll open for calls for questions.
You get a gold star, Lorenzo. The timer is just now going off. That was perfect timing. So congratulations, great job on that. That was absolutely flawless. All right, so thank you for giving everybody the update there, Lorenzo. That's a lot of good information, folks. So to everyone in the call, it's now your turn. If you have questions for Lorenzo or questions in general about the budget process for the rest of us who are up here as well, we're happy to answer them. And I see our first hand. It's Felix. Good morning, Felix.
Good day. Thanks a lot for the session. Not really questions, but two suggestions. One I posted in live chat already. I would directly add a direct click to the Constitution to say, hey, ideally the whole goals align with and execute on constitutional values and principles. Makes your life much more easier as well because Constitution lays out a lot of values already to which we can simply refer. A second point I would add is to say that the whole goals and principles are in the iterative framework and will mostly change and evolve over time. So making it short clear since the get-go, hey, they are not here to be set for the next 100 years or something like this, right?
That's very good feedback, yes.
But everything else, really awesome. Looks solid. Good work there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback.
All right.
There's something in the chat.
We can see if we can. Any other questions anyone has? We're happy to take them.
And or if you have any thoughts about any of the broader topics or any question about anything specific, either just mention it now, or of course you're welcome to join the calls on Thursdays, and we can discuss them in more details.
It's great to see the consultation being open to the community like it is. This is, there are many ways to participate in this, and this, this decentralized roadmap building is it's an important part of the process here and for all of us in Cardano. And so the more participation there, obviously, the better.
Yeah, and the discussion. Go on, Lorenzo.
So I was going to say, as no one else has got a question, if I may, some leading questions, for want of a better term, then. So you've just presented a roadmap, obviously, for next year, and we know that there are a number of other committees within Intersect and members associated with those working towards defining a list of things to do and achieve, or they'd like to achieve in 2025. Can you explain to us how your roadmap aligns with their view and their list of work that they would like to do?
100%. This is a really good point to cover. So during this process in the past, again, 2 months and a half, we didn't just do this like in isolation. First of all, it was open consultation, as we said, with everyone in the community, with working groups and committees, but also we had representatives from the committees coming into all these sessions. So effectively, these goals are built with the committees because they have the detailed expertise about their areas. So anyway, the goals themselves align to what the committees are proposing, but also they then did work where once we had this summarized set of goals, and again, this is what we had so far, they were made sure that they could align their proposals to these goals. And actually, probably the presentation that will come after this will give a better example of that. And actually, as Felix said, this is an ongoing process, right? So this is what we believe to be today, and then it will gradually evolve as we get more information and more data. Hopefully
Awesome.
I see there is a hand raised. JL?
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence, for that question. And JL, would you what is your question for Lorenzo?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you, Lorenzo. That was wonderful. Glad to have all that conversation in our previous meeting. So my question is around the vision bit. A lot of things you talked about seems to be inclined towards, I mean, there's heavy marketing involvement in that area. So what are the current plans or structures in place to work with the marketing work group to help bring this vision to life, basically?
So the vision part in relation to marketing.
Yes.
So I've got a very limited brain. I need to write it down so I don't forget. Okay, yes. So in relation to that, so first of all, as I mentioned, we had kind of discussions and sessions with the marketing working group for all the topics, and of course this came up as well. I mean, it's as we had discussions around all this, also like the previous get more usage. There is need for marketing everywhere because everything that you work on needs to be marketed, advertised, and people need to be aware of it. In relation to vision, the current discussions, again, this is a plan that needs to be made together. So we need to get now into a process where we define this vision creation process as being in relation to how do we make sure, so the challenges are, and this is what has been discussed, how do we make sure that this process covers the different geographies? How do we make sure that this process allows for consultation from different countries, not just geography, but how do we make sure that it's open? Like, for example, it might be similar to the process that we ran this year for Constitution. I don't know. So I would say like the short answer is there isn't a specific plan yet because that needs to be made together. And as I said in the first slide, that's the second focus for the product committee, where we're going to help facilitate this process if the community is interested. And in relation to marketing, yeah, that has been the current discussion. So how do we make sure that it's covered in multiple geographies and so that there is participation? So that it seems to be at the moment that the marketing support for that will be enhancing the participation. It's very, very early.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good response. Thanks.
I appreciate the question. All right.
Okay.
Lawrence.
Okay, I'm happy to. There was an announcement a few weeks back now in Buenos Aires around a Cardano 2.0 with the vision that you've and the strategy you've delivered here. How does that align with that?
Cardano 2.0. Well, in different ways, of course, like as I think Charles himself said as well, that's a vision and that's a proposal. Of course, that is most of that work. So okay, let me start back actually. So the product committee is also asked to make sure that we have a structure and a process and a proposed set of items for research. The academic research working group is part of the product committee, and actually they brought that vision up and they presented that to the product committee in different sessions. Actually, we are going through providing feedback as well. So effectively, like we're making sure that that proposal and that set of items are incorporated in this process. And at the moment, we believe, based on what the research working group has presented so far, that the items that they propose for 2025 will be supporting for the creation of this vision process. So they will give us context on, okay, actually, where do we need to go as a community? So yeah, it's a part of the process, and it contributes to the overall discussion. Yep. Lawrence, I like your questions because they're challenging, but also it's useful. I think that I probably should have mentioned in the presentation, but I didn't think of. Felix.
Do you see the Cardano budget actually in context of Cardano partner chains? It's not a big thing yet, but can assume it will become a big thing. How do you react there?
Sorry, can you? I understand that the question is about partner chains, but I think I missed the first part of the question. Say it again.
Exactly, because we will have the problem in, let's say, 2-3 years from now that we have very solid partner chains, which are key part of Cardano infrastructure in this regard, some partner chains more than others, which will have heavy reliance on the Cardano budget and actually maybe, right? How is the stance then there from the Cardano budget to say no partner chains? You have to sustain yourself, or are partner chains included in priorities to the budget then as well? Because so far nobody speaks much about partner chains in this context. We'll get a quite tricky thing, believe me.
Okay, I think that this is a question which is a little bit for us, a little bit for budget committee, a little bit for TSC. So what I can say from this side, that some items that again has been brought forward from the research working group relate to kind of advancing the research related to that. And actually, I think you can see them on the Open Mirror board. And there is also the monthly session from the research working group. So on that side, I think that is the advancement that has been discussed so far, but that's very high level. That's related to kind of getting more data. I know that TSC has some more development stuff that might be related to that, but I'll leave that to them to discuss. And in terms of budget, again, I think as you said also, like the whatever is our plan or our roadmap shouldn't be fixed. So I think the more data we get as we get along, the more this will get adjusted. So that's I think is the safe way to do it. We get more data and then we adjust what we do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lorenzo. And yes, Felix, to add to that, from what the budget process says about that is simply that we would take every request that comes and push those requests through the process so the DREPs would have the decision that they could make as to whether or not something is worthy of funding. So maybe is a great answer to that question for now. So we shall see how it goes. I appreciate it. That was a great question as well, Felix. Thank you so much. We've got Chris up next. Hey, Chris.
Hi. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I have a question about establishing a well-structured and accessible funding ecosystem for Cardano projects. That's slide 5. I would like just to hear, when will you be able to present a timeline on this goal and some kind of milestones so that we know this is a big thing, and just a timeline and milestones how you think achieve this.
Yeah. A rubber meets the road question, Lorenzo. When do we start to see some of the information from these goals put into action?
I think this is a question that has two sides. Let me first answer with a little bit of context. So the product committee, as I said, at this moment has this, as we said, this goal, right? So it's helping facilitate this process for a common set of goals, right? This doesn't mean that the product committee itself will make sure that we'll keep track of the progress of these goals, of course, because we need to make sure that we need to get data, how we're doing against this roadmap. But then the delivery of them, or like the detailed items, will be up to the committees. Now, some of this we should have input. For example, from the product committee side, we are discussing the items for the research budget, and we'll need to get data about this, right? We need to understand, okay, where are the best opportunities for funding? So for that, we will, of course, kind of cover what are the items that we want to support, what is the research that we think needs to be done in relation to that, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at that document that I shared, there might be already some details from other committees of items that they're proposing against it, but it might even be that at the moment we just know that that's a goal, and then we just need to find ways to say, okay, this is how we make it done. And different committees will support in different ways, or even different organization will support this in different ways. Again, if these goals are accepted and approved by the community through voting. So yeah, I think this kind of gives a little bit of context, and from the product committee, we'll be able to give more details on what we can do and propose from the research side as soon as that's ready. Does that make sense, more or less?
Yes. So for those who know, I'm sitting on the budget committee. So, but this is also coming like from the community, and because there are questions about this, how to make Cardano more accessible to businesses. I would ask that product committee pushes for a timeline. That there are some sets. Let's say you don't have to go for a month, but have a Q1, Q4, Q5, whatever you want to go. Even 2026. That there's some measurement that you can say, okay, this is how we are moving, and we can improve. Just so it doesn't. There is a metric for that.
So that's it. Actually, also you cover two very good points, which again, as Lorenzo's question, I didn't mention necessarily. So one is how this process kind of works. I also would assume, as you said, you're part of the budget committee. Maybe the budget committee will have some recommendations on how maybe this works. I don't know, that might be the case. But yeah, one thing that will also come soon, as we now have going through these consultations. Again, these goals so far have been very well received. So we are getting closer to a point where we feel like, okay, we can start to prioritize them. So as soon as we have them, also we're able to suggest when to place them over the year, different quarters, and what are the KPIs that we should measure against these goals. So that as a product committee as well, we can help kind of keep track of the progress against these goals and roadmap that comes with them.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
And there was another hand raised after Chris, but it's gone.
Yeah, we had a couple hands up that dropped down. If you guys can, if your question was already answered, that's understandable. But if you'd like to come back up, we appreciate the questions. Jayela. And actually,
Yes.
Jayela, if you don't mind, I believe Juan hasn't had a chance to ask a question yet. Can we?
Okay. No
Juan,
problem. No problem.
Let's let Juan go, and then I'll give you a chance at a second question.
Yeah,
So,
sure. No problem.
Thank
you,
you.
Lloyd. Good morning to everybody. And well, I just want to mention that something that Felix brought to attention to us, which is the Cardano partner chains. Don't forget that besides that, we also have protocols and projects that are going to bring tremendous amount of activity to Cardano. And then one of the challenges we have is to be ready for that throughput that we need to cover and to provide services or to all that activity that is going to come, or the transactions that are going to come. The beauty of that is that Cardano is pretty much ready for that. The only thing is that on the budget side, it's not magic. It's not easy to provide with the precise and the proper amount of CF prediction or capability to do the service all those incoming activities and incoming transactions. So I wanna ask how do you see that we are getting ready and prepared for that? Lorenzo, what do you think?
So a scalability question, Juan, is that fair? A scalability question. How are we preparing to scale for new DApps, new applications that come that inevitably use a lot of our chain capabilities at any given time?
That's a good question. I would say, like, again, if I can reference the consultation, the discussion that we'll be having so far, the goals that seem to support that, it's probably this getting more usage. So again, there are a lot of details below each of these goals. The main discussion, I think, that connects to that was related to what needs to be which use cases we need to suggest to be supported on the layer 1, and which do we suggest to be supported on the layer 2, and how do we scale these two depending on these needs. Of course, like then going down to the details, there are different, for example, initiatives even proposed by TSC that support this one way or like another. But from product committee side, I would say like the key goals that the key topic that supports that like scalability, is this getting more usage. And the key supporting all the supports that is that kind of enhancement of making it easier to build on, because and the competitiveness, right? So if you're able to, for example, guarantee a certain kind of settlement time or whatever, like that does support that element of scalability. And I think as soon as like TSC comes here, maybe in the next session to share some of their like proposals, then we can talk about details.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Good. Thank you.
helpful one. Okay. All right. Thank you. And Jay, you had your hand up for a second question, so go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's Demi because a lot of people struggle
Demi,
pronouncing
okay,
my
Demi.
name. Yeah, so then Demi is fine.
Demi,
Thank you.
got it.
So Lorenzo, can you talk us through how we intend, and I say we because I'm a part of the product committee as well, how we intend to ensure transparency, what are our plans for how do we intend to set KPIs and report back to the rest of the committee on all of this, and remain transparent as well. So please talk us through that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and of course, as you mentioned, we have people also that participate in a lot of open call. Actually, Juan as well. Juan, you're one of the new voting seats, so of the product committee. So in terms of transparency, so first thing, again, we're kind of going step by step, right? So the first thing that as we said, we're focusing on is facilitating this process for to kind of generate this set of goals that kind of give us a common direction. So starting from that, the way in which we keep transparency and also accountability, let's say not accountability, but like we're sure we can report back on those. It's basically what we're doing now, right? So we make sure that we have as many presentations as possible. We make sure that there is as many open sessions as possible, and there are different ways for different people to participate. So on one side, participation is key to keep transparency, because if you can join, then you can see. In terms of tracking progresses for this, okay, there is on one side the KPIs related to the product committee itself. We have 2 goals for now, and the first one is, I wouldn't say it's complete, but it's ongoing, and the second is about to start. So those are some KPIs for the product committee. KPIs related to this, as I said, we are now hopefully getting towards a refinement of this consultation. It means that the goal so far seems to be very well received, so we can now start to kind of, we know that more or less probably the topics will remain the same, so we can start to prioritize them. As soon as we have prioritized them, we know, okay, these are the goals, these are the sub goals, these are the proposals within, these are the key ways in which we can track them, and they will be made public on our knowledge base. And perhaps if this roadmap is approved on chain, then we'll need to make something more structured, even like on the Intersect website, let's say, where we can keep track of this. But this is part of if you look at I think I'm still sharing my screen, on the product committee knowledge base, which I shared the link for before. There is, in these first few slides here, I think pages, explanation of what is our commitment. So on one side, I need to remember which part it is. I think it's here. So on one side is facilitation of these processes, but also on the other side, there is the tracking, the making sure that we can say back to the community, look, these 5 goals that we discussed, this is how we're moving forward with those, so that perhaps mid of the year, we can also say, these goals will add a little bit less work on it, or this goal has been fully achieved, so maybe we can adjust, as Felix said before, right? So it's a process that is ongoing. So I would say that's it. So that's what we're doing for transparency now and KPIs now, and moving forward, that's our goal. And I think this will translate also in the facilitation process that we aim to have for this vision creation process.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow-up question to that. How do we intend to bring the rest of the community, Intersect community, to contribute to some of these decisions and some of these ideas that we have set for 2025 and the goals, basically, and the vision and whatnot? How do we intend to create a structured way to involve the rest of the Intersect community in those decisions?
That's a good question as well. So for these 2025 goals, we are following an organic approach. We're trying to understand so for the harder challenge is market, right? Because the opportunities are there, but we need to make sure that people know about them. So we're doing as much as we can to advertise this open session, but also, so we're trying to go through first the committees and working groups, which are made of community members. So that was an easy thing to do. Open calls has been helpful also because people know people, so that they can invite people. They can invite representatives from different groups to these focus group calls. So that was helpful as well. So you can get like a good idea of what is the perception. And the open calls, the Miro board, and the survey kind of give different flavors or different ways for people to contribute. Now, as we get into 2025, if again these goals are approved and we all want to create together this vision, then the process does need to become more structured because it needs to be a repetitive process that we can improve as we go. So the vision creation process will have hopefully a V1 next year. So and we'll see how that goes. So what are the learnings from it? And then we'll need to repeat that because again, it's an ongoing process. So we don't say we create a vision for 5 years and then we forget about it. We need to repeat it hopefully every year and then we refine our vision creation. And in that way, the process becomes more structured and the opportunities for participation become more clear. Because if you repeat them, then people know, okay, I don't know, every middle of the year we meet, I'm saying just something random. So that might be something that people know. Hopefully that.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Lorenzo. Hand over the mic to someone else.
Thank you. I think we got Phil. Is it Phil? It's Phil. So just seeing the peak.
Yeah, hi. So assuming our timeline goes according to plan, so not allowing for any delays or anything like that, obviously the next step is to getting down into the detail of these high-level goals and topics. What's the deadline for being able to contribute to that, to say, okay, let's start to put some discrete numbers around specific pieces of work to achieve some of these goals? Is there kind of a, we need to have this done by the end of December? Is there like a target date that we're working towards? So I guess the reason why I asked that is, if I have some ideas that I want to contribute to this, when do I need to get it in by so it can be considered?
Okay. Again, two sides of this. If you want to contribute to the goals themselves or like the broader strategy business context, let's say, the consultation is open. So join the calls, join the Miro board, and you can contribute to that. If you want to contribute to the details, then I think about what is what is the subject or the topics that you're interested in. For example, if you are interested in the core, maybe join working groups or open sessions from TSC, because these are goals that kind of, as I said, create a common direction for all of us. But then the details below come from all the committees and the working groups. So the easiest way to contribute to the details, for example, you have a marketing proposal, is join the marketing working group, and then their goals or their proposals will be connected to this. So I think these two sides. If you want to contribute to the goals, join, of course, the sessions of the product committee. If you want to contribute to any of the specifics that help achieve these goals, then join the working groups and the committees, and they will provide that space.
So I understand that, and I mean, obviously, I've joined some of the product open calls in the past, and I've kind of championed this idea for a while, and that's about having some strategy around enterprise adoption. And so obviously I'll find a working group that supports that. But I guess the question is more, whatever that working group is, when do they need to have this done by? And it might not be a question for you, it might be a question for Lloyd, as far as, how does this all tie into the budget process timeline?
I think I'll leave this part to Lloyd. Just one last comment. From the product committee side, in relation to these goals, again, always come back to this is an iterative process, and it's not like it's fixed in time. This is the best estimate or the best information that we can get so far, right? But as we get more data and more information, this will evolve. So we're gonna have at some point these are a set of goals, these are a set of sub goals, these are some proposals, and that will be correct at that time. And then even if that's submitted and that's approved, then if something else come up, right, there's another information that we'll have to adjust and evolve. Otherwise, we're gonna get fixed on one idea and one suggestion. So from our side, the consultation is open. As soon as we feel as a community we're ready to get approval from DApps for this, then there will be one milestone. But then there is time for refinement. But Lloyd, perhaps you have more details on the budget process.
Well, I'm just going to add in, if I may. So from a visionary product perspective, I think it needs to remain open. So we're constantly evolving and changing the vision as the community requires. So I think from Phil's perspective, I think get involved as you are and drive your requirements through the product meeting, product committee. As far as the budget, as we know, we are aiming to, we're trying to close out the budget at the moment, so we can do a withdrawal in 2025, early 2025. Now that will gain us a portion of cash, which we will be able to then work with the committees on which projects and priorities they would like to do. So I think we need to be mindful that we have a number of buckets that have been created that any of the committees can pull upon. And should a requirement mid-year change, I think there needs to be a level of flexibility from the committee to the DREPs to gain their approval to pivot if they need to. So I think we need to be, and we need to put some processes in place, Phil, to enable that to happen. And they've not been fully created yet, but it is part of the budget process, which Lloyd's created, is on our website. There is some wording around that, but more is needed. Does that answer your question, Phil?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it sounds to me like what you're describing is, I envisage the different committees rolling up some line items for, okay, here's a program of work we want to do towards this, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the TSC, it's a lot easier. You go, okay, we want to, I don't know, I'm just plucking examples out of the air. We want to develop Hydra. Okay. So here's kind of an estimate as to how much we think to get Hydra to version 2 or something. So if there was like a program of work that we could describe that could help drive enterprise adoption, what does that look like? How much money is needed to drive that as a program of work? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's a line item on a budget somewhere.
Yeah. So, Phil, that's actually the bucket allocation process. So during 2025, about mid-year, we're going to undergo a bucket allocation process to align what 2026's buckets will look like. We do that mid-year so that there's time to fill, budget asks from those buckets. So that's kind of the two-step process that you take sort of the vision. You move the vision into buckets, and then you move the buckets into a budget. So that's the way we envision that process moving forward during 25 for 26. We started mid-year with this process for 25, so we aligned our buckets based on sort of what's already there. So we did our best to, what did we do in 24? What did we execute on? And then we tried to make our buckets look similar to that with a few changes, but minor changes to get us to 2025. And then during 25, we want a much broader participation in that bucket allocation so that we can figure out really where are we headed, and then allow teams to fill in, the way that they would address that broader call of where do we want to go. Does that help?
Yeah. So it sounds like, coming back to my original question, if my question is, when's the deadline for getting something as a line item on a budget somewhere, it sounds like for 2025, that's already passed, is the answer to the question.
I think committees are still interested right now in taking any information that they can from anyone who's got a proposal. I would say every committee is still open. That's not closed until the DREPs say it is. So until we come to a discussion with DREPs that says here's the info action we're going to propose on chain for the budget, up until that point, it's available for change. The guidance is, okay, here are the 5 buckets. If you have something that fits one of those 5 buckets, you can put it in. But if you want to guide our direction in a different direction, that needs to wait till 2026. But if it fits one of those 5 buckets for the direction of 25, by all means, bring a proposal forward.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, obviously, everybody's going to be competing out of the same bucket. So, obviously, there's an idea of what's going in each of those buckets already, and if there's any new ideas that weren't previously thought of, but they do relate to that one of those buckets, then it might be a case of chucking something out. But that, again, is the DREP decision. Like, how do we prioritize things?
Exactly,
It,
exactly.
yeah.
We
Okay,
can
perfect.
offer, and we have in the budget process, you'll see that we have an area where we talk about prioritization and allowing members to come and help with the prioritization. But that's just a suggestion to the DREPs that says, hey, according to the members of Intersect, we think these are the priorities in the order they should be in, but it's still the DREPs say yes or no to the priority orders.
Perfect.
It's
Thank you.
not fully
Thank you, Phil. Go
That's not
ahead.
fully correct, right? There are different streams. I mean, IoT is building a coalition. They reach out to a bunch of Cardano builder projects, invite them into a coalition. And if they join the coalition, they should sign NDA. And the idea is that these projects would be included into the annual budget from IoT side, right? I think Intersect is doing one stream, IoT is doing another stream. Intersect tries to make it open, but what we see from IoT, red flag. Nothing there is happening in the open. Most people don't even know about it. Like, yeah. But anyway, just a quick notice on this. But want to come back. Did you guys actually started to explore already alternative funding income for the annual Cardano budgets? A quick context on this. The Cardano treasury by default is decreasing, right? So do the reserves while the ecosystem is scaling up. The only hypothesis which is used here to make sense is to say ideally the growing ecosystem also reflects the higher value in price. If this doesn't hold true, we run into massive problems if we rely on solely the Cardano treasury as income source to the annual budget. So it might be really relevant to figure out where else things actually come from than only the Cardano treasury.
Thank you, Felix.
Yeah, absolutely, Felix. So yes, we are talking to VCs. A number of conversations have taken place. Now, we as Intersect don't want to own any of that element. We're facilitating the conversation in this. So we're having conversations, as we know. We have, Emergo as an example, doing a lot of that work from their base, and we're leveraging some of their knowledge as well. Have we defined how that will work into next 2025, 2026? No, we haven't yet. But we are working to create a group of individuals that can support us in understanding how we can get alternative funding into the ecosystem, be it through venture capitalists. So it is on our cards, and we are talking about it. We haven't fully defined that yet, but it is on our list of things to facilitate into 2025.
To add to that, if I may, this was also one of the topics we were bringing up in the product committee and working groups, because there are several models we can follow. Also, enterprise licenses, also participating more heavily in accelerator programs, supporting the projects that are building on Cardano with not only money but also networks, knowledge, and the broader establishment in certain ecosystems, but business ecosystems, not technological ones, so that we are trying to figure out how to approach that. Where are the money problem from multiple angles. And I think that we are getting there. There are no golden bullets for that challenge. It's also about the maturity of the projects who are building on Cardano, whether they are applicable for VC's interests, or they are still in a stage where they need to mature to get some serious funding. But this is about the projects that are building on Cardano. If we are talking about supporting Cardano ecosystem per se, again, some open licenses are an option, and we are exploring that. One of the points for research, that one of the buckets that we were talking about, was also about figuring out what kind of money we will need to model the sustainability of the ecosystem, because not everything can come from the transaction fees. So one of the goals is to figure out how we want to, or how can we move forward in the 5 years or 30 years time. to provide sustainability.
Thank you, Bart, for the question. So sustainability. I think, Lawrence, I know we've talked quite a bit about sustainability over time in the process workshop and in other things like that. It's obviously it's key to everything that we're doing here. We think about the budget we'd like to think about the budget process in frames of decades. We'd like to see Cardano stay and thrive and grow beyond. And it's going to take. You said no, there's no magic bullet, and I agree with you. There's no one answer to this question. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the participation of everyone that's capable of working through these processes and looking for the right tools to help us get where we're going. I guess the answer is that the more we work together and the more that we strive toward that goal, that sustainable long-term treasury that has there's the tools are there. We have ways to put money into the treasury. We have tools to take money out of the treasury. If we shepherd those, the use of those tools in an effective way, as a community, as a whole, then the treasury grows and we sustain all sorts of development in all different ways. Is that helpful, Bart?
Yeah, man, fully agree.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate the question. All right. Next question. Okay, let's go with Chris. Chris, what's your
I
question?
just want to answer to Felix and definitely to the community. I have some insight. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you fine. Thank you, because you do have more insight into that than the rest of us would. So go ahead.
So I have some insight in Cardano Dev Coalition. There are obvious issues. And first, the coalition is forming as not an entity, as more like a working group. It's supposed to be part of Intersect. There are many unknowns because it's a group of 20 plus people, essentially 20 plus companies. IOG is one of the biggest, but one company or one member, one voice. There hasn't been made resolutions on how things to proceed on internally. There are a lot of legal and compliance things that are being worked out. One thing that I can share with you is that idea behind is to put Cardano first, to have reliable source of developers that can give quality. That's the whole idea. The Cardano and the roadmap as a priority. Idea is to be everything to be open to the community, fully transparent. Thing is, there isn't a single document or a single thing that can be shared because it hasn't been agreed upon. And the members of this coalition have people from community and people from various committees, and they're all part of Intersect. And being responsible and open to community is one of the big topics. And just want to reassure you that it's not going to be an IOG side project that's going to be held in the dark. It's going to be perfectly transparent. Yeah, Felix, can you?
There's some quite projects to which you reached out with the IoT team rejected, actually, right? And when you ask them why they rejected, their reasoning is they don't want to get into some sort of trouble on something. So I'm actually wondering that if you received already direct feedback from builders which you contacted, and they rejected and said already, no, thanks a lot, not really interested. Shouldn't this have been a quite strong message for you to say, oh, maybe not the best approach to take here, to do everything behind closed doors, and then later come up and say we full priorities on transparency? I mean, what should match actions then here, actually? And you can prepare for total backlash when you bring it up then and say, over the last 3 months, we spoke with a bunch of Cardano builders. Sorry for those which haven't been contacted or whatnot. Some signed NDAs, some didn't. Here's our coalition default for us. Imagine the backlash then when it comes totally out of the blue.
Well, there are 20 plus people from global companies. There are different rules, compliances that each one holds, and they cannot talk about any terms without some kind of protection. Nothing has been decided. There is like super strong voice that it should be open, transparent, and socialized to the community. So don't think that you're not aware because there's some collusion and there are some talks like how things are going to be made. No, it's very similar to this call. 20 plus people talking about some legal QIC things and very strong voices how things should be introduced to the community very openly, and you will see it soon. So I'm not talking to you just to soften you. I'm telling you it's coming. Problem is things are delayed. This isn't something that there are smaller and bigger players. It takes time to agree on things. There are time differences, but and in the end, it's Cardano space. Nothing meets the deadline. Things a little bit slower.
Your lobbyism, but it's okay. It's moving in the right direction. But sorry for taking that much time. Let's move to other topics.
I do appreciate it because it is a topic that doesn't have enough clarity yet. Thank you, Chris, for bringing some more clarity to the question. I really appreciate that. And, obviously it's a discussion that will continue. I am conscious of the time. We've only gone over by 4 minutes. So bravo, gold star, everyone. We did really good today. I appreciate everyone's participation. The only thing that we have remaining today is just sort of what's coming next. And I see Simo already added the link. Thank you so much, Simo, for adding the link for us. The link to the Cardano budget process open sessions. Our next session is on Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Forget the UTC time on that. Sorry.
And if I may, the next one is on Saturday, and it's AMA session. We schedule one for Tuesday, which is session for technical steering committee to present their goals. So please join that one. I will probably schedule one for Monday for US time zone, so Lorenzo can present product committee presentation for the different time zones. So I will add that to the calendar, and after that, in end of November and December, we'll continue scheduling so every committee can present their goals to the community so we can discuss on all of these.
Yeah, thank you. So a quick question. Where do we go to get the recordings to these sessions? Because I missed the last 2 sessions here. So I want to watch this one. Yeah.
So resources, if you go to the budget committee's knowledge base, which we can drop the link to that here as well. I'll make sure we drop that here. Just a second. The budget committee has a knowledge base, and on the knowledge base, we have everything. And here we go. There it is in the chat. Everything that you would look for. It has if you look at the very bottom of the knowledge base, there's a tab called Public Presentations. Under Public Presentations, it does include both the 2 November open sessions that we've had so far, as well as the presentation that we did at the Cardano Summit and the presentation we did at Rare Evo. So all of that is available to you. The slides, the videos from it, all of that is readily available right there, and this session as well will be added as soon as we wrap it up and get a bow tied around it and online. So next couple of days at most.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, thank you all for your participation today. Really appreciate all of the support from the community of participating in the process, because this is Cardano's budget. Let's make this happen together, everyone. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.